are live and recording. Thank you so very, very much for joining us this evening. We're on the cusp. But I am very excited because we have Whitney D. Grandison, who is going to be in conversation with Kristina Forest. And we are celebrating on its book birthday, which is always a very, very exciting thing. The right side of reckless, which, so good. Feels we need good books. We need books that bring happiness, especially in this time. So this event is just going to be, if you need a pep in your step and some happiness, you are in the right place. And just to tell you a little bit about the authors that we have, Whitney is dedicated to telling stories about teens of color and teens in difficult but relatable situations, which is beyond amazing. And I'm so happy we have you here to share that with us. And her success on Wattpad has awarded her not only the title of Wattpad star, but also the ability to work professionally for promotional campaigns for feature films such as Beyond the Lights and The Glass Castle. Outside of writing, she is a lover of K-dramas. Yes, I need recommendations from you. I will be reaching out later. All things John Hughes and horror films. And Kristina is the author of the young adult romance novels Wanna Be Where You Are, and Now That I Found You, and her next YA romance, Zilla and Kai, will publish in summer 2022. So yay, another good book to look forward to. She earned her MFA in creative writing with a concentration in writing for children at the New School, and she lives in New York City with 2 huge bookshelves, which is a feat because I have heard of the small space you get in New York City apartments. So big thumbs up to the priorities with that. Now, everyone, some house rules before I pass you off to the amazing authors. To the right-hand side, hello, Kayla and Justine. As you guys have noticed, that is where our amazing chat section is. Keep the howdies coming. We will be in there also interacting with y'all. And if you look down below where it says ask a question, I would highly recommend that you hit that button, and that is where you can ask the authors a question. That's the best part about events, is that you get to interact with the authors, pry their brains, be like, how do you come up with this amazing story that makes me feel all of the feels? Whatever questions you have, go ahead and put them down there. And then also, if you wish to feel all the feels, you need to buy the book. So if you would like to purchase any of the author's books, if you look down below, there will be a purchase book button. I highly encourage you to click that after the event. And on that note, I'm going to pass it off to Kristina, and I'll see you all at the end. Bye.
Bye. Hi, Whitney. I'm so happy to be here to talk to you about your book. I really enjoyed reading it.
Thank you.
So have you been enjoying, your book birthday and everything?
It's kind of overwhelming. I'm still in denial about it being free into the world.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about The Right Side of Reckless? How did the writing process differ from when you were writing A Love-Hate Thing?
This one was different because it's set in my hometown, and I wrote it first, actually, before Love Hate Thing.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was less of a challenge because it was more of a home feel. And Guillermo was actually a bad boy, and Trice was more of a good guy. And he's trying to start over fresh in a new town and be on a better path. And Reagan was actually a good girl who is trying to find her voice. She has pressure from her boyfriend, her father, and trying to find her own identity. And that's also different from Nandy because she was more of a headstrong, know she wanted in comparison to Reagan.
So you say you wrote this one first.
Yeah.
So then how did it happen that A Love-Hate Thing was that your debut? Was that your traditionally published debut? So how did it happen that this one was second and A Love-Hate Thing was first?
Because I had to rewrite it first because it was very dramatic at first, the first version of it.
In what way?
Oh, honey. Reagan was very indecisive, and you probably would have hated her. So
okay.
And Guillermo was very flirty, immature. He was on probation. He was just a bad boy. He was flirty and he wasn't really grounded yet. So it needed more work and nuance.
Okay. So that actually brings me to my next question, is that you feature a very well-loved trope here, which is good girl meets bad boy. And what made you want to explore this trope, and what do you like best about it?
I like that edge that bad boys have. It's more fun than just the good guys sometimes, have a little edge. And on Wattpad at the time, it was very popular.
Okay.
And I wanted to see my own take with people of color, so that inspired me a lot too.
And so I was reading in your acknowledgments that this story was originally written on Wattpad, and then you decided to redo the story. So you talked about that a little bit in your last answer, but what made you want to decide to return to, is it Reagan or Regan?
Reagan.
Reagan. What made you decide to return to Reagan and Guillermo? And was it just something that was calling you back to the characters?
My readers really love the story in the series so far, so I wanted to give them, a copy of it physical. And I wanted them to have a stronger story because there's not a lot of people or books out there that feature people of color or teens of color. And I wanted to have, give them something to read, to be seen and visible,
Yeah. So you have a dual point of view in this story from both Reagan and Guillermo's perspectives, and they're obviously very different characters. So, and this first person, which is actually pretty difficult to pull off. So how did you go about differentiating their voices that they felt distinct enough for readers?
I really don't think about that. Once I know the person, I know them. Like for Guillermo, he was on probation. He was different. He was bad. And for Reagan, she was a good girl, sheltered. And once I knew that, it was easy to write them. It wasn't really a challenge for me at all.
So what are some of your favorite, like, good girl, bad boy stories? Like, did any movies you watched or any other books that you read go into how you wrote these characters? Did they influence that?
I really, really love Simone Elkeles. And I really love Leaving Paradise by her. Perfect Chemistry, that series.
Right, okay.
So that had a little bit of influence for me too. Her style and writing. So did Katie McGarry. She's also very good at that too. Bad Boy, Good Girl. So those two right there for sure.
Okay. And so I noticed that you say that there's multiple books. Like you said, like in your acknowledgement, you talk about like the Arlington High series. So is that something that's on Wattpad? Like more than just those two books that are published?
It was 3 of them at first, but I took them down. So I did. So altogether, there's 3 so far. So hopefully, there's more to come. Hopefully.
So what was your journey from writing? Like, what made you want to? Like, how did you get the idea for these books? Because I'm just now realizing that it's more than just The Right Side of Reckless. That this is like a universe that you've written.
In 2012, it was a very white demographic for YA books, and I really wanted to see a series of books about kids of color. And there's not really many out there, so I wanted to be like the first to try to do it, And that really inspired me to have a series of love stories about kids growing and finding their way. So that really helped me out.
And so then, like, what did you started with Reagan and Guillermo's story, and then did like a lot of people like it, and they thought, did it get really popular?
It got really popular, and then I had a side character who kind of gets his heart broken in this book. I wanted him to have his own story or child of love, and so that kind of grew from there. And then that book had a side character who also, a little puppy dog. I want him to have a story too, so it kind of grew from there. It's a very, I would say, character-driven story.
Okay. And how long did it take you to? So once you were writing those books, you said in 2012, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then, how long was it before you tried to get them traditionally published?
I had to rewrite it, so I would say maybe about 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
I had to rewrite it first. I gave it to my agent. He said no, it needs some work, so I had to redo it again. So it was a little process.
Right.
Yeah.
As you did the revision process is always like, it can either be great or it can be terrible. I feel like there's no in between. It's like,
yeah.
So, you mentioned earlier that both Reagan and Guillermo deal with different kinds of pressure. And I wanted to talk about Reagan a little bit more first, because I found what her whole character was really relatable to me, because when I was in high school, I was also not involved in any sports or activities, but I dated someone who was like a sports star, and it could get really frustrating and annoying to like be that person's girlfriend, and then they have all this outside attention, and you feel like there's like a role that you're supposed to play. Like they actually call the girls the trophies in the book. Is that something that you made up, or was that like people say? Okay, I was gonna say, did people say that in high school?
No.
I was gonna say that's harsh. That's hard for young girls. But I mean, seriously though, like for a young girl to be like that, they're just called like the trophies, but it's supposed to be like a positive thing. Like you think about like how psychologically that could mess with someone who's that young. And Troy specifically is like, I mean, I don't know. When you're a young guy and you're good looking and you have all of these things going for you, I think that you're kind of set up to be a little egotistical.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And he puts a lot of pressure on her when it comes to like sex and stuff like that, which I found relatable. And I know that, a lot of my friends also, like when we were in high school, it just felt like there was a lot of pressure to do that. And so what made you want to include that in the story for Reagan?
I feel like a lot of girls go through that, as you did. And you know how like it was last year before we had the Me Too movement?
Mm-hmm.
And so as girls, we kind of swallowed that whole pressure down, just roll the punches. And now in today's climate, we're kind of like growing our voices to say no and say no, that's not okay. So for Reagan, I thought it was important to have her to be a model of that, to say no means no. I own my voice, my body, and I want her to have that, be that mode for girls who are going through the same situation, possibly.
And I think that you did that really well, because she puts up with his behavior for a while. I know she like tries to like be classy about it, like no, and then he's just that one scene when she's at the party. I don't want to talk about any spoilers, but there's the scene like later when they're at the party and like they're like a reveal happens as to why they, things eventually go sour for them. I was reading like, is he serious? After the way he's, you know what I mean? Like, but I just felt like the way that you depicted the dynamic of Reagan and Troy's relationship felt really realistic to what I think a lot of girls go through if you're dating someone who is in the spotlight like that.
Oh, yeah.
And I also really loved to see Reagan eventually stand up to her dad, who's putting a lot of pressure on her to be an accountant, which I thought was so funny that he's like, I got this like very, very clear and direct plan for you. And so where did that come from? Like the decision to choose accounting specifically?
My high school offered that, so I thought it'd be something different than being a doctor or a lawyer, something more, unique, something more normal, I would say, unless, big like a doctor or a lawyer.
Yeah, that was definitely unique. I was like, oh my God, her school has accounting. Like, she was way better high school than I went to. But I also think that Guillermo too is dealing with another kind of pressure, and it's to sort of reform himself. He's trying to be better and to because he has the pressure that he's putting on himself, but I think he also feels a particular pressure from his dad, who is kind of like, I'll believe it when I see it, in terms of his attitude improving. And so I like to talk a little bit about Guillermo. Like, I was just really impressed that I'm always impressed when like people write outside of their experience, not only because he is he's a boy and he's 17, but he also is Latino. And so like what sort of went into writing his character, and how did you get in his head to be able to, pull his chapters off and they felt, very, very real? They did not feel phoned in, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Thank you. I had a friend in high school, and she was Mexican American. So that kind of inspired me to have, that person in my story. And for Guillermo, I wanted to have a boy who had, bad association, went down a wrong path, and now he's trying to do better. Because a lot of boys, they keep going, I wanted a boy who had a family who wanted him to do better, and I wanted him to learn and grow from that. So that was important to me. I have boys to read this and see I can do more than when when I'm around.
And so did his voice just come to you right away? Well, I guess you'd been working with them for a long time.
Yeah.
So by the time you started writing like this iteration, was he just like automatically there on the page for you?
Yeah, because it's been a long time. So I just know him so well now. So it was just easy. Plus, I had some people who helped me get him more authentic, who were also Mexican American. So that helped me too, having readers who were own voices.
Right. And so something else that I also think felt very authentic to this story were the friendships. So like between Reagan and her best friend Malika, and then Guillermo and Avery and Janae, which I really loved that Guillermo like took Avery under his wing. He's just like this. Like when I saw him when you first meet Avery, I actually thought before that you find out his age, I thought he was a lot younger just because of the way that you describe the way that he's like sitting in the chair. He's like playing a video game or he's like watching TV. And it felt like I felt like, oh, this is very clearly the little brother. You know what I mean? Like, and so I just loved that he was able to connect with Guillermo. And it was interesting to see the juxtaposition of Avery's friendship with Guillermo as opposed to how he just completely does not interact with Troy at all. I thought that was really well done. But I think sometimes when you're reading a romance that the friendships can feel sort of like they're just like peppered in, like here's the friend. All right. Oh wait, here's the friend again. So like how did you what do you think goes into like balancing fully fleshed out friendships when you're writing specifically a romance?
My editor helped me a lot, my editor. And also the story is very character driven. So it's not just about love, it's about people, So I think friendship is more important than love at times too. So because Guillermo needed someone like Avery to ground him and someone like Janae to relate to. And Reagan needed someone like Malika to have her back and just give her to her straight, be real with her. So it all bounces out kind of.
And I also really loved Janaya's character because when you first meet her, like I think Avery's like he straight up says she has a reputation. And of course Guillermo is like, well, I have a reputation. What's that supposed to mean? You know what I mean? And I love that I think I always really love when you get to see a character who like you're told is supposed to be bad, but then when you get to know them, they're actually, you start to understand why people say the things that they said about them, but they're just like everybody else. So like what inspired you with Janaya's character specifically?
Because I know girls like her who come from broken homes, and unfortunately they don't break the cycle. I know girls who have kids of their own now, and they don't really raise them. They just, leave them alone. And for Janaya, I wanted to show that there's a way through. You can break that cycle and just become better than where you come from, especially for a girl who's Black too.
Yeah.
So I want her to be a model for strength and resilience. And I think she does a good job of being that voice.
So off of friendships, now back to romance. This book has a love triangle, actually two, kind of, because of Guillermo's what got him in big trouble was a love triangle. And when did you get the idea and how did you go about balancing that? Because love triangles are a balancing act.
I think it's not really a strong one because I feel like a good love triangle has no obvious choice. And my book has one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a girl needs options. So they both should be good people, give you feelings. And for this story, obviously Troy was giving her a headache and Guillermo was giving her freedom of, voice and just herself. And I wanted to show the two different dynamics of each guy. So towards the end, it was easier for her to see where she belonged or felt comfortable. So that really helped me.
I think that what's so interesting is that often Reagan is like, when she's with Troy, she's saying that she misses how they used to be in the beginning because they had like a bond, like a friendship bond. And it's just like totally been pushed out the window because all he wants to do is try to have sex. Right. And so what I really loved is that so much of this book is about Reagan and Guillermo becoming friends, which I think is so important for young people to read about, because I think a lot of what you can see sometimes is that there's just like this immediate
instant love,
which is cool sometimes. But I think that for a book like this, which is like relies heavily on realism, I think that it was very satisfying to see the way that their relationship was built. So then when they finally do get together, number one is like, finally. But then it's also, it just feels like very satisfying, you know, once it feels very earned, I guess is what I'm trying to say, once it happens. So you mentioned that the setting is kind of based on your hometown.
Yeah, Akron, Ohio.
Okay. And I think that I might have missed that somehow, because I was reading this and I was like, where does this take place? It feels like it could take place anywhere, which I think is actually kind of what you want, unless, like, of course, you're writing a book that takes place in like New York or like LA or something like that. Like, if it's in the suburbs, you kind of want it to feel
like home.
Like home, or like universal in that way. And so, was it hard to try to write something that was based on your hometown?
Not really. It came more natural than a Love Hate Thing, because I'm not from California, so I had to wing that kind of. But this one was just natural.
So. How long did it take you to write this? When you rewrote it?
Maybe 2 years. I won't lie.
Okay.
Because it's hard to go back in and just try to think of more material. Because, you know, at first he was on probation. He was just a bad boy, and then she was very indecisive, and at first it was between sophomore year and junior year, and it was just too dramatic and too like, oh my god, stop. So I had to like really brainstorm to make it, you know, a better, stronger story. So about 2 years, I would say.
That's actually, when you think about all the work that goes into trying to reimagine something that already exists, that's actually not that long of a time, you know what I mean? Because it's like a different kind of work than when you're coming up with something originally that you're trying to flesh out. So you said that there's a third book in the series that you did that you were doing on Wattpad. Is that going to be a traditionally published book as well?
So hopefully this does well, so we can get there, because I planned 5 stories in novella, but I wrote 3 so far. And I really love book 2, so hopefully this one does really well. So
yeah,
hopefully that's my plan or goal.
Can you talk a little? Is it like a universe? Like, are we gonna? Is it about a character from the right side of Reckless?
It'll be a year later, but Guillermo and Reagan are both in there. They're like the mom and dad of the series, I would say, and it's very close-knit group of people. So yeah, it's very.
Oh, that's really cool. So, like, where do you get some of like your writing ideas?
So for this one, I would say Reagan, I had a dog named Tanner in 2012 when I started writing. No, before in 2012. And so I wanted to be in a story, you know, my hometown. And at some point, I had no dog. So and it was just, you know, a real process for me. And that was more of a, you know, for me, for this story. And I had a friend who was in high school who was Mexican, so that's where he came from too. I wanted to have that. So
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I would say for like book 2 and 5-ish, they're more personal because they're more for my story, kind of. So it just sometimes it's my story or people I knew and saw in high school stories too.
Mm-hmm. So, like, so far, what do you think has been different about your sophomore book coming out than your debut novel? Aside from the fact that we're still in the middle of a pandemic.
Oh yeah. I think my debut, I was very into reviews. I would say don't read reviews. It'll bring you down. So
Absolutely.
so for this one, I haven't really read reviews. So I just been like just enjoying the fact it's out. Just trying
Yeah.
more of a happy time.
Nice. So I have a lightning round, which I think we have time for. Okay, so I think you kind of answered this a little bit, but about books. So I'm gonna switch it to movies. What is your favorite good girl, bad boy, or maybe bad girl, good boy, or regardless of gender, movie?
My favorite movie of all time is actually Cruel Intentions. Which is
Really?
Don't judge me.
No, it's just not what I was. After reading this book, that's not what I was expecting you to say at all.
I just love that movie. I love how wicked and bad Sebastian was, and Catherine too, my girl. And I love how Annette was such a a sweetheart. She kind of like changed him.
You know what? Because he dies at the end, doesn't he?
Unfortunately.
Right. That's what I'm like.
I know, but I just love it. I don't know why.
Okay, you know what? That actually, now that I'm thinking about it, is a very great answer to that question because it just doesn't have a happy ending.
Which is realistic too. It's realistic,
That's true. That's fair. Who is your ultimate OTP? And it could be books or movies, either one.
Or TV?
Yeah, or TV. Anyway, anything.
I have the answer. Hold on, I gotta think about this. I would say Brooke and Lucas from One Tree Hill. I have a tie. Brooke and Lucas from One Tree Hill. Edward and Bella.
Yes.
Brittany and Alex from Perfect Chemistry. Ryan and Marissa and Steph and Summer. I have a whole handful. From OC,
Wait, what was the last one?
Steph and Summer from the OC.
Oh, okay. What is your favorite romance trope?
Probably a tie between good forbidden love or enemies to lovers. I love that hate.
Yeah. What is your favorite enemies to lovers story?
I guess you could say Perfect Chemistry because that was actually built on hate, really. Not hate, but it was like he didn't know her, but she didn't know him, so they were very judgmental at first. So that's kind of one I would say.
Is that the Netflix movie?
No, it's just a series by someone on the list.
Oh, I'm getting it confused. There's like this Netflix show that is like it's a movie. It's like multiple movies, and it's like a hate to love thing, and the boy's British, and it's called something like that. And that's what I thought that you were talking about when you said it the first time, but now I realize that I'm wrong.
It sounds familiar though.
Yeah, I cannot. I know it's based on a book, but I cannot think of what British? It's called right now. Yeah, he's British.
Was the book?
And they're in college together.
Sounds yeah. After.
Yeah. Yes.
Girl, no.
I've never seen it. I've never read it. I just see like videos and stuff about it on the Netflix page, and so that's why I was like, wait, is that what she's talking about?
Oh no.
Okay. What is your least favorite romance trope?
Maybe a love triangle, because when I read like Twilight or The Hunger Games, all I cared about was my guy. So I didn't care about freaking Jacob or Gail. Just all I cared about was Peeta and Edward. Go away.
See, I felt differently about. I never read The Hunger Games, but I did watch the movies, and I was kind of just like, I liked Finnick.
Girl, I just I read the books. I got mad at the end of the third book because of him. Like I feel a way about that. That was my guy.
Mm-hmm.
He betrayed me. So yes, Finnick was my guy. After that happened, I didn't care anymore. So he was amazing.
And with Twilight, I actually really liked Jacob, and I was like, what is wrong with her? Like, clear to me at the time, because I read Twilight as it was coming out, so I was, like, it's legit, like, in high school, like, reading when I should have been doing homework, and being like, what is wrong with her? Like, clearly Jacob. To me, I was like, Jacob is like the more,
yeah.
I was just like, I don't want somebody who's like jumping in my window, staring at me while I don't know, it just felt so weird. I understand why she liked Edward the way that she did, but I just felt like if I were Bella and I had my mind that I have now, I'd be like, Jacob is clearly.
I mean, he was stalking her at some point, so it's like,
yeah, I mean,
it's a little heavy, I guess.
But it is what it is. It's a total phenomenon, and I think it's made so many of our careers now possible. So, and I still love the movies. If you could put anyone from another book into this story, who would it be and why?
Actually, for my books, I think Guillermo and Trice will get along for sure.
Okay.
I think Reagan could be a good, friend for Nandy too. They can probably, be friends, and Nandy could teach her some things about being, headstrong into her career, her goals. So, and then I could see Alex Fuentes from Perfect Chemistry being friends with Guillermo too, because he was also a bad boy trying to reform. So I could see that working out.
I need to look this book up.
You have to read it. It's long.
Yeah. And what is your most recently read favorite book, or favorite book, TV show, and movie, actually?
Romance?
I would say start with romance, but if it's not, then that's totally fine.
Okay, not to be corny or cheesy, but I really loved your debut.
Oh, thank
you. Yeah, I have to gas you for that. It was so really, really good. I loved Eli. Was like a real boy, because he would be such a.
I know.
But I loved him, and I like how they were Black, but they weren't, about being Black. They were people who resisted. That was very important for kids to have Black joy. So I really loved your debut. It was very, very good. So
thank you so much.
Welcome. And outside of that, I would say last year I read You by Caroline Kepnes. So good.
That's what people say.
I watched the show. It wasn't like, but the book is it's so poetic how she writes his character. I mean, he's a bad guy, a little murder. I won't lie, but
just a little bit.
But it's a really good book. So good.
I've heard that. I have not read it. I also have not watched the TV show, only because I think it takes place in New York.
Yeah,
right?
The first one.
Yeah, and I just feel like it would freak me out too much. It's like the same reason why I stopped watching SVU, because it takes place in New York. And I would just, like, living there, I'd be like, no, I can't. Like, it just made me too anxious.
Yeah, it's in New York, and it's a book. So, yeah, you're smart for that.
So. And what about TV show that you've watched that you like?
My favorite show is The OC. And then Once We Heal, Friday Night Lights. Right now, I'm watching The Sopranos, and that's so good.
It is so good. It is so good. I also, weirdly, last fall, got really into Friday Night Lights for like a good 2 weeks, and it was the only thing that I watched. And then I was getting ready. It's so good. And then I was getting ready to watch season 2, and I tweeted about it. And all these people were like, "Oh, season 2 sucks. You should just you should fast forward to season 3." Because I think they're on a writer's strike or something like that. And so then I was like, "Well, I don't want to fast forward, and I don't want to watch something that's bad." So then I just never picked it up again because I got scared out of it.
I watched the first 4 seasons, and I have it on DVD. I need to finish it. It's very, really good. I don't know why they lied to you like that. That's awful.
I know. So now I'm like, I feel like I should try it again. But then I recently started watching Ugly Betty, which it's totally a product of its time with the kind of jokes that they have. But, you know, once you get past all that, it is like a pretty enjoyable show. So that's what I've been into. I think now should we start with audience questions?
Okay.
Okay. So for Whitney, who would you fan cast for Reagan and Guillermo?
I
love this question.
I would probably say an unknown Black American actress for her, and an unknown Mexican American actor for him. Because right now I can't see anybody in my head for either of them, but maybe someone new and fresh.
Mm-hmm. Which scene or section brought you the most joy to write?
Anything with pool or flirting with that, I like that. And there's a scene in a hotel room that I thought was kind of cool. Anything when he was flirting with her, I thought was just kind of yes, you know. Give her.
Yeah, I'd agree with that too. I think that that's the fun thing about writing romantic stories is the scenes when they're together. When they're not together, it feels like it's dragging. Like when I'm writing.
Yes. Where is he at?
Yeah. Maya asked, can you talk a bit about your querying journey?
I started way too early. I wasn't ready yet, so I probably started with this book actually, the first draft of this book, and it wasn't really ready. It got rejected like I think twice, and then let's see, I got rejected a lot, and I got discouraged a little bit. So I stayed on wattpad, and I wrote a book that's called Playing Hard, and it got really, really popular. It blew up. So once I hit like 4 million reads from that,
Wait, what?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Not really a lot though compared to other people, but it's a lot. But people would say, "Oh, you should publish this. You should publish this." And so I just queried agents who wanted books like Love and Basketball, and my agent popped up on a search somewhere, and so I queried him and someone else. I was thinking to myself, no one will like this book because they're Black and they're very authentic and they're very young and slang and whatnot. He loved it, so I guess believe in yourself. So just I would say query agents who represent what you write. Like first you need like a title that's similar to your book. That helps a lot too. A comp title or a show or a show or movie that helps too. And then Google your genre, that helps as well.
How long did it? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Especially the hashtag MSWL wishlist. It helps a lot too.
Yeah, I agree with that. So how long did it take you to find an agent from when you first, like when you sent out your first query to when you signed with your agent? How long was that process?
I would say maybe about 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
I got a lot of rejections. But for Playing Hard, I only sent out 2 queries and I got right away. He liked it. So that's
the dream. Kayla says, for both authors, was there one book, movie, or TV show that inspired any of your stories?
For The Right Side of Reckless, not really, because it was more just my high school experience was just my main goal. For a Love Hate Thing, that was more of again my high school and my childhood, and a little bit of the OC too. So I guess the OC for that one.
I don't even know. For me, I guess I'm not like necessarily thinking about that when I'm writing. Although there's one scene in my second book, Now That I Found You, when the main character and the boy that she likes are running from the paparazzi because she's like kind of famous. And I will say that I was inspired to write that scene after watching that movie, Chasing Liberty, with Mandy Moore. She's like the president's daughter, and she's running in Paris or somewhere after they don't pay the bill, and they like jump into a boat, and the people are running by them trying to find them, and then they turn and kiss each other so they don't see their faces. And I was like, that is brilliant. So then I put that in my book. So that's like that's the only like direct inspiration I think that I can say. Another question from Justine is for both of us. What is your favorite part of writing a rom-com? And what is your favorite rom-com that you have read or watched?
I love banter. That really makes you laugh. Banter, it really pulls you in, I think, and chemistry too. And for watched, I would probably say either Legally Blonde. Is that rom-com?
I mean, it has romance in it. I don't know if people consider it a rom-com because
Okay,
like the romance isn't like the ultimate.
Yeah, okay. So then I would say 27 Dresses with Katherine Heigl and James Marsden. That was a good one.
That's a great one. I love that movie so much.
Right?
One of my favorite part of writing rom-com. I also love banter. I love any scenes where the characters, I love pining actually. That's my favorite part about writing any kind of romance, when the person realizes that they like this person, but they aren't sure if they should say anything, and like all the emotions that are going through their mind when they're with them. I just love angst. Like I thrive off of writing angst.
Yes.
My favorite rom-com that I've read or watched. Oh my God. I really love When Harry Met Sally. That's definitely one of my favorites. I also really love Bridget Jones's Diary. I think that those are probably my top two. Definitely. Another question. Do you see yourself writing in another genre like sci-fi or fantasy?
I don't really read that stuff because there's too many words for me. well, right. You gotta build the world and everything, but I do have a goal for the past 5 years now to write a YA romance with mermaids versus sirens, kind of. So one day, if I get courage and some faith in myself, I'll write one. So maybe one day.
Yeah. I guess that's kind of like, I guess that would be like fantasy maybe, right? Like that's
mythical. Okay.
Right. Like if you're including mermaids. I have a few ideas for like speculative, like time travel kind of things.
It's science fiction. Right?
Is that sci-fi?
I don't know. I think so.
Like I kind of have ideas where it's like it plays around with like because like I guess like eternal sunshine of the spotless mind. Like to me that's speculative, but maybe that is sci-fi.
I need to watch that. It's very popular.
Oh, you never seen it? Okay, yeah, you need to watch that, and I need to read Perfect Chemistry.
I'll give you a link. I'll read it.
Yeah, but I sort of I guess I sort of have like ideas for stuff like that too a little bit.
I forgot. I did actually wrote a YA thriller, so I guess I did do some different genres, So I have a thriller I wrote.
So. Is that on Wattpad as well?
It was. I took it down. I'm trying to revise it for my agent.
Okay, so like, what has the experience been for you versus having your story shared on Wattpad to having them being, I guess, published traditionally? Like, what has been the difference in that experience?
Well, last year I would say it was kind of like heartbreaking and it's discouraging because I write for teenagers and I had adults telling me it was not good, it's all this negativity. I love to, but seeing people be so negative and they're my audience, that brought me down. And then for Wattpad, that's my audience. Some people are kids, so it's directly towards my people, So it just feels like, I don't know, safer, I guess. Safer.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like a lot of your Wattpad readers have followed you to the books that you've traditionally published?
Yeah, some people have bought the book twice, which is so nice, and they promote it heavily for friends and family. So I love my readers; they're so nice.
Yeah, I think that's like so. That actually brings me to a good question. Like, what do you think is the best part about, or what have you found to be the best part about being an author? Like the author experience.
The readers. when people can connect to your character and to the story and the writing, that just feels like a win. With the debut, I had people who weren't even Black really love and connect to the story, which is like a win because you felt like they get you. So I would say that just the connection, I would say.
Yeah, I guess I'd say the same thing, especially when you write for young people, because so many people who are gatekeepers are obviously adults, and so you have to get through a lot of adults before you can get to your target audience.
That's the problem with YA right now. It's adults having a say before the actual kids. It's really weird.
Absolutely, and it's like it's just weird that a lot of adults sit around trying to decide what young people think is cool or what they want to read, what would do well. Yeah. Another question is, what are you both working on now?
Right now, I'm hoping this does well so I can, continue in this world. And I'm actually writing right now a YA duology. I just finished the first book. That was Friends to Lovers. And book 2, and right now I'm almost done with that one. That one's about a boy in a band. He's a drummer and she's a cheerleader, and they're both like trying to connect and find each other. And so right now I'm writing a duology.
And so is that for Wattpad or is that for your publisher?
Right now it's just on Wattpad. I still have to edit and revise everything. So to give it to my agent first too, so he likes it. So
do you ever? I'm just so fascinated by like Wattpad, and like because it's kind of like you get to put it out and then see what people think first, and then you know what I mean.
So I wrote a book called Playing Hard, and that got like over 6 million reads, and people will give me all these messages to publish it. They want to buy it, all this stuff all the time, and well, I would write about things I felt in the story for the characters. I talk about colorism, and people, they felt to that,
Mm-hmm.
They really connect to the story. So Wattpad, you kind of it's like a I guess like a I guess a connection. They can just talk to you more directly than a actual book sometimes.
And do you feel like because I know you talked a little bit about the readers that you found on Wattpad, but is there like a strong author community there too?
I had one at one point, but they kind of like left Wattpad. But there is one. There are friends, people who meet in real life and meet up and travel to each other, which is really cool. People who are really supportive as well.
Yeah. And oh wait, I forgot to answer what I'm working on now. I'm on a writing break, which is really fun. Well, no, I mean, it's literally imminently about to end this week, but I was on a writing break for a month, and so that was fun. But my next book comes out next summer, and I have like a couple other things that I'm working on that I probably shouldn't talk about or I'll get in trouble. My third novel, Xylan Kai, is about it's about this boy and this girl who meet one summer working at an amusement park, and they fall in love, and then throughout the course of a year they break up, but then when they go on their senior trip together they run away together, and so that's what everyone thinks happens. And so the past is written from their perspectives when they meet and they're like falling in love, and you see what ultimately led to their breakup, or so people think. And the present is written from the perspective of like their friends and people who are looking for them while they're on this senior trip. And so it's kind of like a little bit of a mystery.
I'm scared though.
Huh?
I'm scared. Do they live?
Oh, no, yes, no. There's a happy ending. It's just like it was inspired by this movie called Moonrise Kingdom, which is a really quirky Wes Anderson film. It's about these two kids. They're younger. They're like 12. They are like really in love with each other, and they decide to run away. Like no one understands them, so they run away to the woods. And it's also about like their family members and their friends, because the one boy's like a Cub Scout. They're like looking for them. And I always thought that was really funny. And then I was like, well, how would the story be different if they were older? And obviously how would it be different if they were Black as well? And so, yeah, that went into it, but it's definitely a happy ending. It's just a little bit of a mystery about,
Okay.
what goes into that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I think that was it for the questions.
Hi, I'm back. That was the last question. So I just want to hop back on and say thank you so very much to Whitney for celebrating the right side of Reckless with us on its pub date. Yay! Yes, all of the Vanna White books for the beautiful cover. And thank you so very much to Kristina. You were an amazing moderator and question asker, and it was a pleasure to get to listen to both of you speak. So just a huge, huge thank you so much to both of you for joining us and for celebrating, and to everyone in the comment section and for all of your great questions as well. If you would like to find more information, if you click the purchase book button down below, not only can you purchase The Right Side of Reckless as well as other books by the authors, you'll also get a signed and personalized book plate from Whitney. And we've got her website on the About the Author there, so you can actually click that to find out more information. And I'm going to take a wild guess that it also links to your Wattpad as well, if you want to, if you want some sneak peeks of all of the amazing things she's working on over there as well. My final question before we say goodbye is going to tie into that, and that is, where can everyone keep up to date with what you have going on, so that when you have a new book, when you have anything to announce, they can find you?
Probably my Instagram page at Wheaty, Wheadeee. It's probably there first.
Awesome.
Oh, and I'm just Kristina Forest _ on Instagram and Kristina Forest on Twitter.
Awesome. I'm the same. Instagram is my favorite. I'm I just want the pretty pictures. That's where you'll find me. Well, on that note, make sure you follow them so you can get all of their pretty pictures. And we will see you all next time. Thank you very, very, very much, Whitney and Kristina, for joining us. And have a lovely rest of your evening, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.